mom refuse you? Why? I keep asking that question like it's a wound I don't want to let heal. You're not here in front of me, yet you're everywhere, inside my chest, inside my thoughts, inside every silence that screams your name. I'm not talking about you, I'm talking to you. You hear me, don't you? You always did, even when you pretended you didn't care. They think they know what's right for me. They think love is something neat, something acceptable, something that fits into their rules. But you were never meant to fit. You were meant to ruin me slowly, beautifully, the way only you can. They see you as a mistake, as a threat, as something I should step away from. But they don't see what you did to me. They don't know how you turned my darkness into something I could breathe in. You don't know how many nights I sit alone, talking to shadows, imagining you listening. I don't need you to answer. I just need you to exist somewhere in this world, knowing that someone chose you even when everyone else said no. Even when my own mother did. You think refusal means the end. You think I'll walk away because it's easier, because it's expected. But you forget who I am. I don't love lightly. I don't love safely. When I love, it becomes a quiet obsession, a slow poison I willingly drink. You're not standing in front of me, yet I speak to you like you're sitting right here, because distance never stops me from wanting you. You were never a face. You were a decision, one I made long before anyone tried to take you away from me. So let them refuse you. Let them judge you. Let them build walls and call it protection. I'll stand on the other side, talking to you in the dark, choosing you in ways they'll never understand. You don't have to be here. You don't even have to know this. But remember one thing, when the world said no to you, I never did. I talk to you when the night gets heavy, when the silence feels louder than screams. You're not here, yet I lower my voice like you might hear me too clearly. Funny how absence can feel so powerful. I replay every moment in my head, not because I miss the past, but because it reminds me that you were real, that what I felt wasn't something I imagined. You don't know this, but you live in the pauses between my breaths. Every time I try to move forward, something pulls me back to you. Not gently, not kindly, but with a grip that reminds me I never wanted freedom from you in the first place. They want me to believe love should be calm, approved, celebrated. But what we had was never meant for daylight. It was born in shadows, fed by stolen thoughts and unspoken promises. You changed the way I look at the world. Before you, I controlled everything. After you, I learned what it feels like to lose control and crave it. You don't stand in front of me, yet I can feel you watching me from the edges of my mind, like you're waiting to see whether I'll betray what I once felt. I won't. I can't. Some bonds don't break just because people demand they should. You probably think I've gone quiet because I've given up. That's the lie distance tells when it wants to protect you. The truth is darker. I've gone quiet because if I speak too loudly, the truth might escape. And once it does, there's no pulling it back. You don't know how many times I've imagined saying your name out loud, just to hear how it still sounds when it leaves my mouth. It doesn't hurt less, it hurts deeper. And I let it because pain is the only thing that keeps you close without bringing you back. I don't talk about you to anyone, not because I'm ashamed, but because they don't deserve to hear about you. You weren't a chapter I finished reading. You're the sentence I stopped breathing in the middle of. Every rule they throw at me feels meaningless compared to the way you once looked at me like you already knew who I was underneath the crown, underneath the control. You saw the parts of me I hide even from myself, and instead of running, you stayed. That kind of knowing doesn't disappear just because time moves on. Sometimes I wonder if you feel it too. This invisible pull, this quiet unrest. I don't need you to suffer. I just need you to remember. Remember that someone chose you without conditions, without permission. You don't stand before me, yet I argue with you in my head, defend myself, explain things I'll never get to explain out loud, not because I owe you answers, but because you matter enough that I want you to understand, even if understanding never reaches you. If loving you makes me darker, then I loan that darkness. I was never meant to be good in the way they define it. You didn't fall for a perfect man. You fell for the one who would burn quietly rather than let go. I don't need happy endings. I don't need closure. I need truth, and the truth is that you're carved into me now. No refusal, no distance, no silence can undo that. You don't fade. You stay whether I want you to or not. So I'll keep talking to you like this, in the dark, where no one interrupts and no one judges. You're not here, but you're listening. That's what I choose to believe. And as long as I'm breathing, as long as this heart keeps beating with your name tangled in it, you'll never be just a memory. You'll be the quiet reason I am the way I am, the love I never asked permission for, and the one thing this world couldn't take from me, no matter how hard it tried. I don't pretend anymore. I don't tell myself lies about moving on or finding peace. Peace was never meant for someone like me, not after you. I sit with this weight willingly because letting it go would mean admitting you were temporary. You weren't. You were the kind of presence that settles into bone, that doesn't ask permission before becoming permanent. Even now, when everything is quiet, I feel you there. Uninvited, undeniable, unavoidable. And I let it happen because fighting you would mean fighting the only truth I ever trusted. You should know something about me. I don't forget. I don't replace. When something becomes mine, it stays mine in ways no one can see or touch. They think distance weakens love, but distance only strips away illusions. What remains is raw, obsessive, patient. I don't need to see you to feel ownership over what we were, not in a possessive way they'd understand, but in a way that says you changed me, and no one gets to undo that, not even you. There are nights when I imagine you hearing my voice, even though I know you can't. I speak anyway. I tell you things I've never told anyone, about the anger I hide behind calm eyes, about how control is just another word for fear, about how you were the only one who never tried to fix me. You accepted the darkness without asking me to soften it. That kind of acceptance rewires a man. It makes him loyal to a fault, dangerous in his silence. I don't hate the ones who refused you. Hate would be too simple. What I feel is colder, deeper. They saw you as a risk. I saw you as truth. They wanted safety. I wanted you. And that difference is everything. You were never meant to be understood by them. You were meant to be felt by me. And I did feel you fully, recklessly, without armor. That's not something I'll ever regret, even if it costs me more than they'll ever know. Sometimes I wonder if you've forgotten the way I looked at you. Not with hope, not with dreams, but with certainty. I never promised you forever in words. I promised it in the way I stayed consistent, in the way I never needed reassurance. My love was quiet, heavy, consuming. If you think silence means absence, you misunderstand me completely. Silence is where I keep the things that matter most, because they're too dangerous to expose. I don't wait for you. Waiting implies an ending, a result, a reunion. This is different. I exist with you inside me, like a shadow that moves when I move. If you ever return, you won't find me changed in the way people expect. You'll find me sharper, darker, more myself, because loving you didn't break me, it refined me. It taught me what it means to choose someone even when the world says you shouldn't. And if this is all that ever remains, my voice speaking to you in absence, my thoughts finding you in the dark, then so be it. I was never afraid of loving alone. I was only afraid of loving falsely. What I feel for you is real enough to survive rejection, distance, and time. You don't have to hear me. You don't have to come back. Just know this, you were never a mistake to me. You were the decision I'd make again, even knowing how it ends. I don't ask myself anymore whether this is healthy or not. That question belongs to people who love safely. What I feel for you exists outside balance, outside advice, outside permission. It's not loud, it's not dramatic, it's controlled, contained, and that's what makes it dangerous. I carry you the way a king carries a secret that could collapse an empire if spoken. You're not a weakness, you're leverage against my own restraint, and you don't even know how much power you hold over me without trying. There are moments when I imagine you living your life, smiling, pretending nothing ever touched you deeply. That thought should make me angry, but it doesn't. It makes me quiet, because if you're calm, if you're surviving without me, then maybe I did my job right. Maybe loving you meant not owning your future, not chaining you to my darkness. Still, don't mistake my restraint for indifference. I could reach out. I choose not to. Control is the last gift I have left to give you. You never saw the full extent of what I'm capable of. Not because I hid it, but because I didn't want you to carry that weight. Around you, I softened in ways I never allowed before. That softness didn't disappear when you did. It turned inward, sharpened, became something colder. People think distance makes emotions fade. They're wrong. Distance ferments them. It turns love into something slower, thicker, harder to destroy. I don't need you to choose me now. I needed you to know that once you were chosen without hesitation. That matters more than outcomes. Outcomes are for people who measure love by results. I measure it by impact. And you left impact everywhere. In the way I hesitate before trusting. In the way I recognize truth instantly now. In the way nothing feels accidental anymore. You taught me that some connections don't repeat, and I adjusted my world accordingly. Sometimes I speak to you in my head as if you're asking questions. Why didn't I fight harder? Why didn't I rebel louder? Because I know myself. If I had crossed that line, there would have been no return. I don't do half measures. I either walk away completely or I burn everything down to reach what I want. Walking away was the only way to keep you untouched by the fallout of choosing me. Don't confuse my absence with surrender. I surrendered nothing. I simply redirected everything I couldn't give to you. I poured into becoming more precise, more controlled, more unbreakable. You're still part of that structure. You're in the foundation, unseen, but essential. If you were ever to look at me closely now, you'd recognize what you helped shape, even if you never take credit for it. And if one day you feel an unexplained heaviness, a sudden stillness, a sense that someone somewhere is thinking of you too intently, don't be afraid of it. That's just me, existing as I always have, carrying you without touching you, loving you without claiming you. Some loves don't need presence to survive. They only need truth. And this has always been true. I've accepted that this connection won't ask me for permission before resurfacing. It doesn't announce itself. It just appears when I'm calm, when I'm in control, when I think I've mastered myself again. You arrive in the smallest things, and that's what unsettles me. Not in memories, not in obvious pain, but in instinct, in the way my mind still measures people against a standard you set without ever trying. You don't compete with anyone. You exist apart from comparison, and that makes you impossible to erase. I don't chase what I feel. I let it sit, let it breathe, let it become part of my silence. People misunderstand silence. They think it's emptiness. For me, it's discipline. It's where I keep what matters so no one can touch it, question it, or ruin it. You live there now, untouched by opinions, untouched by refusal, untouched even by time. I don't revisit you to feel weak. I revisit you to remember what certainty felt like. You never begged me to choose you. That's what made you dangerous. You stood in your own gravity, and I stepped into it willingly. Even now, when you're nowhere near me, that gravity hasn't lessened. I don't need reminders of what you meant. I need reminders of why I don't let myself feel that deeply again. Because once is enough. Once is more than enough when it changes the architecture of who you are. There are things that I would have become if I had followed you openly. Versions of me that would have been ruthless in their honesty, unforgiving in their loyalty. I didn't choose that path, not because I lacked courage, but because I understood consequences. You weren't a risk I was afraid to take. You were a truth too powerful to expose without destroying everything around it. Some loves demand sacrifice not from the heart, but from the future. I don't romanticize what we didn't have. I don't imagine softer endings or different choices that would cheapen it. What existed between us was intense because it was restrained, because it was unspoken, because it lived more in awareness than in possession. I don't need you to belong to me to know you mattered. Ownership was never the point. Recognition was. If you ever doubt your worth, don't trace it through who stayed or who left. Trace it through impact. You altered a man who thought himself unmovable. You made him pause, consider, feel without losing control, and that is no small thing. Not everyone leaves marks that deep. Not everyone is remembered in silence rather than stories. You are. So I continue like this, steady, composed, untouched on the surface, and beneath it all, you remain exactly where you've always been, not haunting me, not hurting me, just present, like a truth I don't explain, like a choice I don't regret, like a love that never needed permission to exist.